Alright, hello everybody. Guess what? Micro Unit 1 bringing it to you live from our studio, me and Justin here. So let's start off with the definition. Justin, would you like to talk about the definition of microeconomics?
Definition would be kind of good to lead in with. Anyway, microeconomics is the study of small economics units such as individuals, firms, and industries in competitive labor markets, personal decision making, kind of etc. Economics in general is the social science concerned with the efficient use of limited resources to achieve maximum satisfaction of an economic wants.
Alright, so that's the definition, but let's get on to some important terms. We've got scarcity, trade-offs, choices, and opportunity costs. What is scarcity? Scarcity is the condition in which our wants are greater than our limited resources. Since we are unable to have everything we desire, you must make choices on how we will use our resources. Basically, you gotta think, oh, I only have a limited amount of this, maybe I need to take some of this to implement for some of that. I have, what would you say, Justin? An apple?
I have an apple. Okay.
Alright. And I want to eat all the apple for lunch because I'm really hungry. But there's limited resources of the apple. I don't have an apple tomorrow, so I need to determine whether I want the whole apple today and not eat tomorrow, or have half an apple today and half an apple tomorrow. So, those are the choices we need to make when we have scarcity. In economics, we will study the choices of individual firms and governments making decisions when faced with two or more possibilities. That's choices. Those are important. The most desirable alternative given up as a result of decisions is known as opportunity costs. It's this one right here. It's the loss of potential gain when one option is chosen. So you're losing the gain of eating the whole apple, but you're gaining the trade-off of, hey, now I get to eat both days. That's the choices you have to make.
Hey, Zach.
John, you came!
Yes, I did.
Well, can you help me out with marginal analysis?
Sure. In economics, the term marginal means additional, like thinking on the margin. In marginal analysis, it involves making decisions based on the additional benefit versus the additional cost. In marginal analysis, you need to analyze the marginal utility of whatever you're doing. Marginal utility is the additional marginal usefulness of your task or your item. But before we get started in making a marginal analysis chart, we would like you to pause this video and make your own marginal analysis chart that describes the benefits and costs of eating 1, 2, and 3 pizzas. Pause the video. Now start the video. Our marginal analysis chart describes our costs and benefits of eating 1, 2, and 3 pizzas. At one pizza, the benefits of eating an entire pizza is pizza is great and tastes amazing. You feel really full after eating that pizza, and the taste and smell of the pizza is delectable. And you especially feel really epic for eating an entire pizza. But the cost of eating a pizza is, of course, the cost of the pizza, the time you spent just raving over that pizza, and then you feel guilty for eating an entire pizza. At 2 pizzas, the benefits are that it's still pizza and it's still amazing. You feel really full for eating a second pizza, and it's super tasty. But the costs are greater. There's more money put into it, more time, and you feel really guilty, sick, and dirty. At 3 pizzas, all the only benefits are that you feel full for a little while at least. But the costs are incredible. It's 3 times the money of 1 pizza, 3 times the time as 1 pizza at least. You will feel sick and you can't even swallow. You will feel super dirty for eating 3 pizzas, and probably a bit sad.
So John, can you help me understand circular flow diagrams?
Sure. Circular flow describes the process in which economies work. There are two structures in the free market economy. There are firms that represent the businesses that sell your iPhone. And there are households that represent individuals like yourself. The product market up here includes finished goods like your iPhone or your car. Firms make these products and then households buy the products. In the resource market, that involves the four factors of production. Households put their land, labor, and capital into the resource market, which firms then use to make their products. This all makes the loop of the economy work, in which firms make products that households buy, and in order to make those products, households are hired by the firms.
Now, when you're producing products, there are actually four factors of production. There's labor, there's capital, there's land, and then there's entrepreneurship, otherwise known as human capital. These objects are used to produce your goods and to get them to you, more or less.
Alright guys, second half of the poster, let's get it done. We've got PPC curves. Justin, what are we going to have them do in their notebook for these PPC curves?
Okay, so we're going to want you to draw some PPC curves for us. Well, we actually have them up here already, but we want to see what you can do already.
Needs to be 3 of them. Got it? 3. We need one that's producing at a regular production rate, right?
Right.
We need one that's producing where? When one of the factors has changed, okay, either increasing or decreasing. And what's the last one, Justin?
And we're also going to need one that will have both of the factors change. So both capital and consumer products are going to either increase or decrease. Show me that, okay? Now, PPC curves, or PPGs, are a graphical way of showing that the possibilities that a market can produce. So like, this model demonstrates scarcity, trade-offs, opportunity cost, and efficiency of a market. So in this PPC graph or PPC curve, there are 4 assumptions. First off, there are going to be 2 products being produced. In this case, we're going to use consumer and capital goods, but it could also be something like soccer balls and hats, pizzas and robots, kittens and dogs, you know, whatever. Second, full employment of resources. That is the line. Okay? Third, fixed resources. Ceteris paribus, meaning that you're not magically going to be able to produce outside of the line, pretty much, when you have only so much of something that you can produce. And then fixed technology, meaning that, again, you can't magically produce more than possible, pretty much.
Alright, so you haven't drawn anything in your notebooks yet. So pause the video now and draw it in your notebooks.
Pause.
Alright, now we're back.
Okay.
Now, we're going to show you what these look like. Reveal the number 1 graph. Woo. Justin, explain.
Okay, so this is just a regular everyday PPC graph. So you have capital goods on the y-axis and you have consumer goods on the x-axis. And all this is showing is that you can produce so much capital goods and you can produce so much consumer goods. But if you decide to produce less than a maximum consumer goods, and then you can also produce some of the capital goods as well. But if you want full employment and resources towards consumer goods, you can have no capital goods being produced.
Basically, there's trade-offs within this graph. You're either producing capital goods at this point and consumer goods at this point, or consumer goods at this point and capital goods at this point. It's basically you're having a trade-off in between them. Ready for the second graph? Reveal.
Okay, so this graph is showing a shift in the PPC curve. Something has happened, like a whole bunch, like loss of resources or a faulty production stuff, or something happened,
Advance in technology.
or lack thereof.
There we go.
Because in this case, we're actually decreasing both the curves. So depression could cause this, where consumer goods cannot be produced as much, and capital goods cannot be produced as much because of one reason or another.
And remember, that's the 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital. What was the last one?
Entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship. Justin remembers everything.
Okay. So now I think it's a good time to cover the 3 points on the graph. So on your regular PPC curve, you got inside of the curve. Now this is not in full employment. You are not employing all your resources available to you, but you're producing at this point. It is possible to produce here. Then you can also produce on the line, meaning you're throwing everything in the kitchen sink into it, and you get full employment. You're producing the maximum amount of goods that you can possible. And the third one is outside of the production possibility curves, and that is impossible. You cannot produce that many capital and consumer goods. You do not have the resources to do it.
All right, let's move on to that last graph you drew.
Okay, this is only having a single shift in the production possibilities curve. So in this case, the consumer goods is actually increasing. So like say some form of production line that makes things more efficient to produce has come into play. So,
Or consumer goods. An example of consumer goods would be food, something that's used right away. Let's take an apple for example. GMO-enhanced apples are consumer goods. But if the GMO were to enhance the apple's size, that would increase consumer goods' size.
okay, so but that won't affect the capital goods at all, which is why there's only one shift in the curve instead of having both of these shifts. Okay, that in a nutshell is production possibilities curve.
Alright people, let's go to the invisible hand. The invisible hand is a concept describing how the open market ebbs and flows towards equilibrium. If the cost of producing a product decreases, then the price would also decrease. The decrease in price will cause an increase in quantity demanded. This will return the market to equilibrium.
Say the society wants more fuel-efficient cars. Well, producers that actually want to make more profit will start to make more fuel-efficient cars. And this in turn will provide competition between the firms all wanting to make a profit off of this new demand for these fuel-efficient cars. And due to this competition, it will lower prices. Now, say the people no longer want fuel-efficient cars, they want trucks. Then they will start to make more trucks. And you can kind of see how, without any sort of government intervention, people keep moving towards where the profit is going to be.
At the 2 types of markets within economic systems. We have free markets and centrally planned governments. So, in the free market, there's little government intervention. Might see a skit later about this. Individuals own resources and answer 3 economic questions. The opportunity to make profit gives people incentive to produce quality items efficiently. Wide variety of goods available to consumers and consumption of self-interest work together to regulate the economy, keeping prices down and quality up.
But now, in centrally planned governments, this is a little different. See, the government actually controls the market. So, in a centrally planned economy like communism, for example, the government owns all the resources and decides what to produce, how much to produce, and who will receive it. So, some examples of this is like Soviet Russia back in the Cold War, Cuba, China, North Korea, the former Soviet Union.
But also remember, China is also partially a free market economy. So we're going to get to that. We got to that earlier, but make sure you know that China's partially free market.
Oh, howdy. I didn't see you there. In a perfect world, in a free market system, everyone gets what they want because they all have incentives to provide so they can make a profit with very little government intervention. But this isn't a perfect world. Capitalist America, bank rob you.
Hi, how can I help you today?
Hi, I'd like to make a deposit check.
Okay, that'll be $50.
Could I make a withdrawal instead?
Okay, well, how much would you like to withdraw?
Could I withdraw $100, please?
Of course, that'll be $100.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you there. In a centrally planned government, everyone is equal. Equal pay, equal work, equal positions. Everyone is happy.
Ivan, isn't it great that we have everything we could ever ask for? Duh!
But in Soviet Russia, not everyone is happy.
This is not perfect Russia. Me and Dmitry have the same amount of items, but these are all better.
Duh.
Okay, input and output. We have hockey sticks and hot dogs being produced by both US and Canada. Those two countries are producing them at a current rate. Hockey sticks, the US produces 4,000. Canada produces 12,000 hockey sticks. Hot dogs, US produces 16,000 hot dogs. Canada produces 6,000 hot dogs. This makes US 1 hockey stick equal to 4 hot dogs, and 1 hot dog equal to 1/4 hockey sticks. Make sure you get those conversions right. We'll talk about output and input conversions in a sec. California gets 1 hockey stick for every half hot dog it produces, and gets 1 hot dog for every 2 hockey sticks it produces. So, remember the rule output, O. Output, other, goes over. Make sure you guys remember that, because that's going to be important for these input-output questions. Now, in minutes, this is input. So the US spends 2 minutes on 1 hockey stick. It also spends 1 minute on 1 hot dog. Canada spends 3 minutes on 1 hockey stick, and Canada also spends 3 minutes on 1 hot dog. So, the US gets 1 hockey stick per every 2 hot dogs per the minutes, and 1 hot dog per half hockey stick per the minutes. Canada gets 1 hockey stick, 1 hot dog per the minutes, and 1 hot dog per 1 hockey stick for the minutes there, for hot dogs. So, that's input, IOU. Other goes under. Make sure you guys remember that, and that's going to be input in minutes. Okay?
So comparative and absolute advantage. This has to do with trading and specializing, more or less. So you have 2 countries. In this case, it's the Brazil and the United Kingdom, or the UK, we'll call them. And they're going to be producing hats and soccer balls. So the Brazil can produce 5,000 hats, or they can produce 10,000 soccer balls. But the UK can produce 10,000 hats, or they can produce 30,000 soccer balls. Now you can easily see that the UK can produce way more products than Brazil can in both of these categories. They can produce twice as many hats as Brazil, and they can produce 3 times as many hats or soccer balls as Brazil. So they obviously have some form of advantage, and this is an absolute advantage. The producer can produce more of that product than its counterpart.
Competitor.
competitor. Thank you. Now, this doesn't mean that Brazil has nothing at all, no advantage whatsoever. What Brazil can have is something called a comparative advantage. So this is talking about the producer with the lowest opportunity cost for a certain product has a comparative advantage. So Brazil in this case, for every hat it produces, it's going to have to give up 2 soccer balls. Now, that is its opportunity cost. That is the price of making this one hat. But if the UK wants to make hats, for every hat it produces, it's going to have to give up 3 soccer balls, which means that it costs more to produce the hats in the UK than it does in Brazil, because in Brazil it only costs 2 soccer balls, where the UK it costs 3. Also, that means that the Brazil has comparative advantage in producing hats. That means they should specialize in hats. UK has a comparative advantage in producing soccer balls, because for every soccer ball Brazil wants to make, they give up a half a hat, or for every soccer ball the UK wants to make, they give up a third of a hat. And that means that the UK has a comparative advantage in soccer balls.
Alright, now that we've gone over that, I want you guys to go in and make a comparative and absolute advantage graph of your own. Why don't you use the countries Australia and how about Germany? Let's say Germany is producing lamb sausage or something like that, and Australia is producing lamb sausage as well. And then let's say the other product they're both producing is sugarcane?
Sugarcane.
Let's say they're both producing sugarcane. I want you to compare those 2 numbers. Let's say Australia produces 10,000 sugarcane and Germany produces 5,000 sugarcane. And then for the lamb sausages, Australia produces 50,000 and Germany produces 60,000. Calculate that in your absolute and comparative advantage. Make sure you got it right. Double check your math. Good luck. And that's the poster. So, if you guys have any more questions, refer to Mr.
Rice or Mr. Bender, depending on what class you're from.
That would help. I was also referring to YouTube's
Mr. Clifford?
Mr. Clifford. There we go. I have horrible time with names. Anyway, I'm going to show you the entire poster of what we wrote down on the camera later. But stay awesome, study hard, and rock on the test.
Cool.
Bam.